Hey folks, so we've got an oil filter here, sits like that, it's full of oil. It's always a good idea to fill your oil filter. It's a little harder if they're on the side because as soon as you go to screw it on, it runs everywhere, but if they sit like that, they're good because the oil filter is sucked up through the oil pump, through the filter and then through the engine. So if you fill this, then straight away you've got a prime. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put the pump in there for the correct oil for this engine, and we're just going to give her a couple of pumps. Now it'll tend to want to soak into the cartridge a little bit, so you sort of got to pause a little bit. Now it's 3/4 full there, I can see, up to 2 pumps, so give it another one. It's close to being full. One more, I'd say I'll probably do it. And that's full. A few air bubbles coming out, and the levels actually drop down a little bit now. So I'll give it a little bit more. Now you can do this with an oil bottle. You can need one of those little measurers there. You can pour it in. I'd advise you to probably put it in a smaller, so you've got a little bit more control on it, because if you get a big 5 litre oil bottle and try and tip it straight in here, you could end up with a big mess. So that's full now, and at least then when the oil pump sucks the oil up from the engine, we're not going to have a big air bubble. Now just get your finger and run around the seal like so, and grease the seal up with fresh new oil. Now something to check, when you get underneath and have a look at where the oil filter came from, get a torch and make sure that the old seal is not still stuck there. If it has and you screw this in, you're definitely going to get a leak, because you're going to have 2 seals sitting on each other, which isn't the best. So just make sure that that old seal isn't stuck there. Of course, if you've got the old filter, you can have a look and see if it's there or not. But that is a trap that a lot of people get caught, is the seal sticks to the oil filter housing, and then you screw the next one on, next thing it leaks. So just make sure that that's not there. So we're going to get underneath, try and not spill this all over myself. Sit that there, grab me trusty rag, and I'm going to screw this oil filter back into place. So I'm going to get underneath and have a look, and right, I can see the metal there. There's definitely no oil filter old seal stuck there. I'm just going to give it a bit of a wipe the old oil off. I'm going to give the edge of the sump pan a wipe, because once the filter's in there, it's going to be a lot harder to clean it. So there's a little bit of oil that I spilt on the sump pan. Yep, definitely no seal. I can see the shiny metal. It's all nice and clean. Let me give it one last polish with the rag to get all the oil that I spilt once it came undone. The good thing too, just before you screw the oil filter on, just have a peek, make sure there's nothing that shouldn't be in there, no bits of rag or anything. Yep, she all looks nice and sweet. So now I'm going to get this oil filter, which is full of oil, and I'm going to screw it on. Now do it by hand, and then 1/4 to 1/2 turn tight.
Action.
G'day folks, so okay, I've got the oil filter in there. I've just got my rag and I've just given it a clean around the outside of the metal can so that I can get a hold of it, just clean the excess oil off. So now I'm going to get a hold of the filter and just going to turn it. I've turned it about 1/4 turn. That's firm. That's all you really need. So once you put your oil in and start the engine, take it for a run and just check that you got no drips. But you don't need to physically tighten it back up with the tool, because next time you go to get it off, you won't have it on. You won't be able to get it off because it'll be too tight. Now, while you're under here, folks, don't forget, put your oil bung back in. Don't make the mistake of filling your oil up when you've got your bung out, otherwise you're going to find you got an awful mess. So I'll fill where the hole is, and we're going to finger tight that back in. Now, the only thing with the oil bung is you definitely do use the spanner to tighten it up, unlike the oil filter. The oil filter, you just do it firm, normally quarter to half a turn. Basically, once your hand slips, that's tight enough, and just check it. Never spanner it up because you'll regret it next time. Now, I'm cleaning the excess oil off with a rag around the bung. I'm going to grab my trusty socket and put the ratchet out of the way, and we're just going to give just a little tension, not too much, just firm. And once again, once you've refilled the engine and run it, make sure you do check that this isn't dripping. You can put a new washer on the oil bung if you like. I very rarely do that unless it's got marks or something in it. And then, of course, the next job will be to put the new engine oil in the engine, which will be shortly. G'day folks, so now we've put the oil filter on, we've put the bung back in. At the moment there's no oil in the engine. So just a tip, your old oil filter is normally pretty grimy and greasy. If you get the packet, slip it over it, grab a hold of the packet, pick it up. You can normally close her up like that, get no oil on your fingers, pop that in the bin. Don't forget, of course, the little plastic piece, put that in with it so that we don't pollute the place. Now, that oil there, shortly I'll put the bung in and I'll tip it into my sump oil drum. But at the moment now we're going to concentrate on the oil. So what I've done is I've pumped, this engine takes 4.3 litres, so I've pumped 4.2 litres into my measuring jug here, and so now we're going to pour this into the engine. So give yourself a nice funnel. This particular one doesn't sit tight, so you've got to hang on to it. And here we go. So in goes the engine oil, and that'll drain away down into the engine. Now I've checked the manual and made sure that I'm putting the correct amount of oil in. Now what we'll do is we'll then back the car down the ramps and we'll check the level on the dipstick and add as required.
Action.
G'day folks, so we've just refilled the Camry with 4.3 or 4.2 litres of oil. So we're just going to pull the dipstick, wipe it, and then we're going to check how much oil we've got in this engine. Now as you can see, it looks about perfect. That knob there's the high level mark, and it's just sitting at the bottom of that, so that's fine. When I started the engine, one of the first things I checked was to make sure there wasn't an oil light come on. And just a tip, if you happen to change oil on a Ford Ranger or Mazda, they have an issue with the oil pump doesn't self-prime. So with them, you need to fill your oil filter and change it first, even before you drop the sump. You need to have your oil ready in your bucket, drop the sump. As soon as most of it's out, you need to get that sump bung back in and tip the oil in. Now, you've literally got something like 7 to 10 minutes that you need to get that oil back in. What you got to make sure is that you don't pull the bung out and go have a coffee and let it drip and clear, which we normally always do, because in that oil pump, if it loses all the prime, it won't re-prime, and it's a real pain to fix. So if you do have a Ford or Mazda with these particular type of engines, you need to change your oil filter, pre-fill it full of oil, dump your sump as soon as it stops running, re-bung, and have someone ready to tip the oil straight in. And you've literally got to have that done in less than 10 minutes, probably 7 minutes would be safer. Well, now we're going to add the anti-wear. So we've already worked out that we need 86 millimeters of anti-wear in this engine. So we're going to grab our trusty anti-wear bottle, and it's got a gradient measurement on here. So all I'm going to do is loosen the cap, and between 80, there we go, 86 mil, and I'm just going to use my trusty little funnel. I'm going to pop that in.